Before you're seated, John 8:12, it'll be on the screen for you. It says, Jesus spoke to the people once more and said, I am the light of the world. If you follow me, you won't have to walk in darkness because you will have the light that leads to life. Before you're seated today, shake somebody's hand, high five them, do something, and tell them it's time to hit the lights. We are continuing a series we've titled 7 as we're going through the I am statements of Jesus made in the book of John. And it is important for you to understand whether you've been with us for the other parts or this is your first Sunday as a part of it. These are not slogans, they are revelations. They're not just statements that Jesus made, but they were revelations of who he really was. Last time we were together, I talked to you about him being the bread of life and how that he is the only entity that has the capacity to satisfy the hunger in your soul. And today we're talking about him saying, I am the light of the world. Now, in order for us to understand the power of the revelatory statement that he makes, it is important to check the context in which he made it, because it's powerful to see what he said, but it goes even deeper when we understand to whom he said it and in what context he said it. And so when you look at the context of John chapter 8, what you find is they were in the city of Jerusalem celebrating the Feast of Tabernacles. The Feast of Tabernacles is one of the 7 annual Jewish feasts that they celebrate every year, 4 of them in the spring, 3 in the fall. And each of them have a prophetic picture of something that's coming in the future. They are a picture of something. Jesus was the fulfillment in his first coming of the first 4 feasts, and then he's going to be the fulfillment of the last 3 feasts in his return to the earth. And so these are powerful celebrations. But the Feast of Tabernacles was a celebration that, although it pointed toward Jesus, also looked back to their celebration of being delivered out of Egyptian bondage and the trek they took from Egypt into Canaan land. And during that time, they were led by a pillar of fire by night and a cloud by the day. And to celebrate the pillar of fire, this was a festival that was all about lighting things up. And so they had menorahs and they had the temples lit. They had lighting everywhere, and they would celebrate this lighting that that God had done in the past. It is in that context, Jerusalem glowing with this light, pointing back to what had happened in the Old Testament. And Jesus steps into the middle of that context, and he declares that the light you're celebrating is right in front of you. I am the light of the world. It's a powerful statement, and I want to break it down into 3 things. First of all, let's talk about the revelation of what he said. He said, I am the light of the world. Jesus begins this confrontation with an identity of his own, not an instruction of what you're to do. He wants you to understand who he is before he ever talks to you about what he needs you to do because of it. You have to understand that oftentimes people get into a lot of trouble because they try to do what Jesus asks of them before they fully understand who Jesus is to them. When you're trying to operate prior a revelation, because Jesus said to Peter at another place in the Gospels, he said, upon this rock I'll build my church. And the Catholic Church thought that was Peter, and so now they have a pope. But what he was saying is, he was saying to Peter, Peter had just said, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. He had just got a real-time revelation of who Jesus was, and Jesus said, it is upon the revelation of who I am that I build the entirety of the church. But we spend a lot of times trying to build our lives having never had a full revelation of who he is, and therefore we're messed up because what we know he's supposed to be never comes to fruition in our life because we're trying to build on someone we don't know yet. AKA religion. Jesus begins with identity, not instruction. He uses the phrase, just as he has in the other times, and will continue, the phrase I am, which points back to Exodus 3, when God said, I am that I am, the eternal self-existent God. He would later say in chapter 8 that before Abraham was, I am. He was trying to let them know that he was not just passing through. He was not just another prophet. He was not just another leader. He was not just another teacher, but that he was the self-existent, eternal God wrapped in human flesh. And they so believed he meant that they picked up stones to stone him because they thought he was a heretic trying to claim that he was God. But notice what he says, I am the light of the world. Not a light, the light. He's saying that when you look at your menorahs in your celebration, they're not the light. He says when you think back to the pillar of fire by night, that was not the final light. When you look at the prophets, when you look to the temple, these are all pointing to me because I am not a light, I am the light. Isaiah would say people are walking in darkness, but they will see a great light. John 1 says the true light came into the world. Jesus was saying, I am that light. And I love how he doesn't just say, I am the light, but he says, I am the light of the world. Notice he did not say, I am the light of Jerusalem. I am the light of Judea. I am the light of Israel. I am the light of the Middle East. I am the light of the Gentiles. I am the light of America. I am the light of Republicans. I am the light of Democrats. Just want to make sure you were listening. I know I could catch you up if I just said those words. He said, I'm the light of the world. Because darkness is universal. And so the light has to be universal as well. There are many things that glow. Success can glow. Religion at times can glow. Morality can glow. Self-help programs can glow. But that's like moonlight. It's borrowed and it's reflected. It's not real. Jesus wants us to know that he is not a reflection of light. He is the source of light. And from him all real light flows. He is the light and he's the light of the world. And he is the only light that the world will ever need. And he's the only light that can ever bring victory over darkness. But secondly, I want you to see the resistance. He goes on and he says, you won't have to walk in darkness. Understand that darkness in Scripture is not just the literal reality of light being gone. It is confusion. It's a kingdom. Darkness is a kingdom and a dominion. John 1 tells us that Jesus would come into the darkness and the darkness could not extinguish him. But John 3 will tell us that people love their darkness because their deeds are evil. Paul will tell us later that the God of this age blinds the minds of people. It lets us know that darkness has the ability to blind you. It has the ability to bind you. It has the ability to deceive you. And it sure does disorient you. Have you ever been walking through your house late at night? And if you have as many kids as I do, and now dogs, haven't caught y'all up. We got a puppy. My mother-in-law got a puppy. And somehow we're keeping all the puppies. And the old dog's not dead yet. And so you get up in my house at night. You're trying to be quiet. You're trying not to turn on any unnecessary lighting because you do not want to awake an infant and you do not want to awake a howling puppy. And when you walk around in that darkness, it's amazing how things that you do all day become difficult when the darkness hits. Because I love walking in our bedroom. We have a bathroom off our bedroom. And when you walk in there, there's we have two closets, and in between the closets is a light switch, and I usually hit that light switch so as not to completely blind my wife. I'm just an incredibly considerate husband when I'm headed to the bathroom in the middle of the night. And so I try to hit that, but the problem is sometimes her door is closed, her closet door is closed. In full disclosure, mine never is, because I can't. It's like physically impossible because there's too many shoes. I got a shoe problem. I just do. It's a real issue. Will you pray with me? But I go in there and to hit that switch, but boy, it's horrible because it's pitch black, can't see. And so many times I've rammed my hand into that door because I didn't know it was there. And then last night I rammed my hand into my door because I was too far forward trying to reach it. Because when you get in darkness, it doesn't matter how familiar the territory, you can get disoriented to the place where you can get lost somewhere where you know where you are. Darkness is dangerous. The danger is one of the greatest dangers about darkness, especially spiritual darkness, is you can be in it and not know it. I want you to understand something today. You can be in this house and you can be fairly successful in life and still be in the dark. You can be incredibly educated. You can have degrees that I can't even imagine attaining and still be in the dark. You can be really, really religious and still be in the dark. John 8, the city is lit up. They're celebrating the light that was, looking to the light that is to come. And here Jesus is saying, I am that light. And surrounded by that light, the Pharisees completely missed the light right in front of them. They were so in the dark, they didn't even see the light when it showed up. Didn't have the capacity to recognize it. But watch what he says. You do not have to walk in darkness if you follow me. The way to overcome darkness in your life is not to go to church. It's not to do this, that, or the other. All those things are part of it. But the way to overcome darkness in your life and in your reality is to learn how to follow the light. Follow Jesus. He did not say, admire me. He did not say, agree with me. He did not say, be inspired by me. He said, follow me. Following, the Greek word used there when he said follow me is a present continual verb, meaning it's not something you do in a moment. It's a daily lifestyle. I want you to understand that in a moment I'm going to give an altar call. And if you've never given your heart to Jesus, I would love to pray with you today and help you begin that process. But one of the things we sometimes don't communicate real well in the church in America today is that prayer that you pray today is a powerful thing that will transform your life in this moment. But it will only transform your life ultimately if you walk it out every day thereafter. It's not a one-time prayer. It's not a one-time decision. It is a daily lifestyle of following after Jesus. Following means surrendering my will. It means committing to being obedient to Him. It means to having this kind of a mindset towards Jesus. Where you lead, I will go. Doesn't mean that you will not walk through dark seasons. But it means no matter how darkness may be around you, it will never be in you and it will never be home to you. Darkness tried its best to extinguish Jesus as the light. Herod tried to do it while he was still an infant. The Bible says that Herod sent out a decree because he saw the wise men. And he said, I want you to kill every male child under 2 years old. And it was only because of an angelic visitation to Joseph that they were able to get out of town before this horrible thing befell them and Jesus was murdered as a child. Later, Satan would try to stop the light by tempting him in the wilderness. Then Judas would try to stop the light by betraying him. Then the crowds and the religious leaders and the Roman government tried to stop the life by killing him on a cross. And ultimately, they tried to contain the light by burying it in a borrowed tomb and putting a stone in front of it. But you know the story. 3 days later, it looked like darkness had won for 3 days. But on Sunday morning, the light walked out of the grave and it proclaimed, the darkness can never extinguish the light. I want you to see that it doesn't say the darkness might not extinguish it. It says it can never extinguish the light. It's hard when you find yourself in total darkness. I will tell you a story about my past that surprises even me that it's in my past. When I was in college, I went to a Bible college that was more like a boot camp. We didn't have a lot of freedom. We didn't have a lot of fun. We didn't have a lot of anything but just pain, sorrow, and bless our hearts. But some of the guys started doing some spelunking. Anybody know what spelunking is? Cave exploration. I'm claustrophobic. I don't know why they got me to go, but I went several different times and had a decent time. Now, I think about that now, 20 some odd years later, and I'm like, I would rather die than go do that again today. But one of the things about spelunking is it was one of the first times, because you see, I've never lived in a major city, but I am as urban as a rural person could ever be. Like I don't live out in the country. I've never lived out in the country. I've been in smaller cities, but I don't do country. The closest I ever did to the country, we still had street lights on that dirt road that I lived on. I mean, I don't. So I had no concept for being in a place where you literally could not see your hand in front of your face until I got into some of those caves. You get so deep in there that there's no outside light coming in. And you're completely and totally in darkness. It is an eerie feeling when you find yourself in a place where you cannot see anything. That is a powerful picture of what your life and my life looks like when we don't have Jesus. But I love the fact that Jesus doesn't stand outside of the darkness and shout at it, give it instructions, tells it what to do. No, he entered into our darkness. He entered into our mess. He entered into our situation. Because one of the things you'll learn from science is that darkness has no substance. It has no force. It has no speed. In fact, the best way to describe what darkness actually is the absence of light. Which means that light has never had to fight darkness. It dispels it. That is why you can take a little candle and light it in this room and not even notice that it's lit because there's light here. But if we completely cut out all the lights and lit a little bitty candle, it would make a major impact in illumination. Because it's not about how big the darkness is or how little the light is. The light is so much more powerful than the darkness that its presence begins to dispel the darkness. The darkness cannot fight it. The only way darkness can succeed is in the absence of light. Darkness is not something, it's the absence of something. And when the light shows up, darkness will give way every single time. So I've come to tell you this morning, I don't care how dark it is in your life today, all you need is the light to show up. And when the light shows up, it will dispel all of your darkness. And finally, point number 3. You will have the light that leads to life. This is the release. In John, light and life are literally inseparable when they're found in Jesus. John 1:4 says, his life brought light, and his light awakens the dead. Light equals the revelation of God, and life equals the power of God, and they're both completely found in Jesus. So I want you to understand something, that when Jesus is declaring, I am the light of the world, he's not saying, I just want to show you light. He's saying, I want to give you life. I want to help you begin to live life in light of the light that I am showing you. This is not biological life that he's talking about, although he did give us that. But this is eternal life. This is abundant life. This is the very life of God's Zoe on the inside of you that is released by having an experience with the light of the world, Jesus Christ. It's interesting, in John chapter 9, Jesus, right after this statement, comes upon a man who has been blind since he was born. Jesus tells him to go, puts mud on his eyes, tells him to go wash it off, and that he will begin to see. He had never seen color. He had never seen the sunrise. He had never looked at his mother's face. And Jesus comes to him. I love this because the blind man didn't find Jesus. Jesus found the blind man. This is a powerful picture of what salvation looks like. Because I've told you before, some of the old timers would testify in testimony service. And they would say, I'm so glad I found the Lord. And understood what they meant, but they were theologically inaccurate. Because they didn't find Jesus. They didn't know where to look for him. Jesus found them. The light finds us. He touches him. He tells him to wash. And then he comes back able to see. This is more than just a miracle that Jesus performed. This is a powerful picture of the gospel, that when Jesus touches our lives and we allow him to wash the sin from our lives, then we all of a sudden have the capacity to see where we've never seen before, to have life that we've never had before. And this light, unlike any of the lights before it, never goes out. The lights in the temple would burn out. The pillar of fire only lasted for a season. Even the sun rises and sets during the day. But Jesus is light forever. And the light that he gives is not temporary. It is eternal. It will continue to shine until there is no more time. In fact, Revelation tells us that the New Jerusalem will not need a sun, because the Lamb will be the lamp. It says there'll be no night, no darkness, no fear, no death. Why? Because he is the light. One of the most powerful pictures painted in reality is a story of a man named John Newton. If you've never read much about John Newton, you should read about John Newton. John Newton was a horribly, morally bankrupt man. He was a slave trader doing horrible, horrible things. But the love of God reached him right where he was and showed him that in spite of the horrible things he had done, there was still forgiveness and grace from God. And it was John Newton who sat down and said, I once was blind, but now I see. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I don't know where you've been or what you've done today, but I do know this one thing. The only reason you're in darkness is because you haven't let Jesus be your light. Because no matter where you've been or what you've done, an experience with him will change everything for you today. Stand with me all over the house.